Hey there, Rick. Badger One here. Finally got all of your uh, accompanying mods loaded into my game so that I was able to open your mission and see exactly what you were working on. And from what I can see, this looks like the start of a really good mission build. Um, I will tell you that coming from me, not to toot my own horn, but all the experience that I've had in mission building, um, you're well on your way to becoming a very good mission builder, just from the way that you have things set up. Your object placement, your overall mission design looks good. But I want you to please take this video as a constructive criticism. Um, you know, take it with a grain of salt. Um, you can use what I'm giving you. Um, Use what you want, throw away what you don't want. Um, Probably 90% of mission building is mission creation. You build it, you put it down, you give it to the team, we play it, and then you've heard Morgan do it a million times where he says, hey, I would like to see this. It would be cool if there was a ladder on top of this building so that we could have access to the roof so we could shoot guys from there. Or sure would be great if we had this helicopter. Or sure would be awesome if you'd put a sniper in that tower or something like that. So playability and replayability is what I look for when I do create a mission. How many times are we going to be able to play it with different outcomes? Um, what I can see from what I'm looking at now, and based on the map of the picture that you took for me, showing me what you want to have happen, the scale and scope of this particular mission is going to have to be broken down into several segments, which is what I've done with a lot of my missions in the past. Um, there is simply going to be too much activity on the map running at one time with the amount of units that are placed in order for the game to have a smooth FPS and for us to be able to play it and enjoy it. Um, so I'm going to run through here and I'm going to just quickly point out a few things. Right now I'm in map view. I see that you got your Nimitz down here. I'll show you how to work that and set that up. But again, this is purely constructive criticism based on what I've seen. I've been scanning it over now for about 45 minutes or so, just kind of looking at the units, seeing what kind of triggers and what kind of movement orders you have on those units. And so I'm going to throw in and give you my 2 cents and let you know kind of what I think. First and foremost, this is our base right here. Um, I know this is still a mission in development, but I wanted to point out a couple of things so that I make sure that you don't forget them. First of all, is with this setup right here, when you copy and paste the units from any of the other map missions set up that has our respawn, our Halo jumping flags, our virtual arsenal, and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that it does not copy and paste is the actual respawn marker. If you look here in the map view, you can see all the objects and stuff that you have placed. All of the accompanying modules are down, but there is not a respawn marker. You can find that over here in F6 and markers. It's all the way at the bottom. Go to System. It's going to be all the way down through here, and you're looking for the one that says empty. You're going to place that down, double click on it, and make sure that you name that respawn underscore west. I just simply copy it and paste it down here on this line. Okay. Now you can put this anywhere you want. You can put it inside the base. You can put it out here where you have us. It's just totally up to you where you want to put that. You can even put it on the Nimitz if you want. I can show you how to do that later in the video as well. Everything else, for the most part, looks good. You've got your military symbols here, so we can see ourselves on the map when we play. You got support requester, support provider artillery. That is going to have to be moved. It's too close. It is not going to set up and work properly with it being inside this enclosed area right here. The helicopter attacks, the supply drop, and the jet, the CAS marker is actually set good where it's supposed to be. We might want to move the supply, where was it? Helicopter attack virtual out here. And I'll show you more about these modules too here in just a little bit. I do not promise that this is going to be a short video, so I'm just going to zip it up and send it to you, and you can look at it you know, when you get time. I'm going to go into 3D view here. One thing too is I do this when I build missions as well. This middle guy right here, which would be my character, is not set as player. You'll have to have that. I assume the reason you did that is because probably somewhere on this map there's a guy that is marked player, and you did that so that you could see what was going on. That's him right over there, marked as the player character. He's actually an OPVOR unit right now, and he's in this group of guys right here, which brings me to my next point of interest. I'm noticing on here, as for enemies, that there are actually two different types. We've got some Russian guys that we're fighting, and we're also fighting these guys that that look like pirates. If you look at all these guys right now, they're all dressed exactly, absolutely the same. I would, what I like to do is, if I find a group of guys that I like, let's say you like these guys right here as pirates, that's cool. We can still use these guys as pirates, but you need to have kind of a overall mission premise as to why pirates would be working with Russians. There's got to be something, some kind of story that you can put in the briefing that would explain that. Typically, I will only use one type of enemy in my missions, but your mission, you can do whatever you want. But I would put something in the mission briefing as to why the Russians are helping a pirate faction, so that the team will kind of know what's going on. But back to these guys, I will show you a neat trick. I'm going to come over here to OPVOR, and I'm going to pull up, see if I can find them, as there seems to be. Let's see, I'm betting they're probably pirates Africans if I had to guess. Let me put down, because I'm noticing over here on the left that you're using mainly the Warfare Thai guys, and I think that's what these guys are. So let's put down one guy and see if he looks like this. Okay, that's what you're using. Okay, so here's a good little helpful hint as far as using groups of guys, especially from this menu over here. What I will typically do is I will make my group units from scratch. And so let's delete this guy, and we'll put down a pirate squad leader first, which is basically what this guy is right here. You can see how he's dressed different. So, where'd he go? There he is. So, okay, you got your pirate squad leader, and then you're probably going to want at least a couple of riflemen. We'll go ahead and put those in there. Riflemen. And so this is what I'll do. I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you can highlight this guy, then right click, go to edit loadout. It will take you into the virtual arsenal. And then from here, you can basically edit this guy's kit loadout from his clothes, just like you can when you build yourself a kit. So this is the way that this guy is going to come stock. In order to keep from all of your guys looking exactly the same on the map, I will come in here and I will change their clothes. May do something like this. Let's get rid of his shamag and just give him a regular cap. Let's do cap olive. I'm going to change his chest rig to something a little more third world. I'll scroll down through here. I don't really like that. Let's do Soviet chest rig and do a black one, something like this. And let's go ahead and change his weapon as well. Right now he's using what looks like an AKM, but let's change that to a, still you want something third world. And when I mean third world, I mean something you would see in a foreign country. You don't want to give him like a friggin' scar or something like that, but let's do an AKMS, something with a folding stock. Now, anytime you alter somebody's kit like this, it's going to take away their previous magazine loadout and everything, so you're going to have to remember to bulk that back up and reload him. Give him 7 magazines. Let's give him a couple of frags, maybe a smoke. He's got one already. And then just to give him a little bit of character, let's give him some aviator shades. Once you've got him designed the way that you want, just click OK. And now this one pirate out of this group is going to be looking different than the rest. Let's do another one. Let's do this guy over here. Again, you just click on the guy, put a red box around him, right click, and go to Edit Loadout. Okay, we were in, I believe, let's do Sandals Desert. That looks good. Let's change his vest and give him a Gorilla chest rig. That looks good. Now, one thing you will notice too, as you kit these guys out, this vest is already loaded down, but if you look over here, it may not have exactly what you want in there. I'm going to go ahead and let him have this AKM, but I'm going to change his kit. Pirates don't usually use chem light, so I'm going to get rid of that. Let's do couple of RGNs. Let's go ahead and give him another smoke and maybe a couple of med kits. Let's also change his headgear and give him a booty hat. Oh, you know what? Let's do a head tie. Boom. The one thing that you can't do in this is change their facial appearance. I usually don't mess with that. We're not really concerned about what the guys look like. Really, we just want to know that they've got a weapon and they're going to shoot at us. So I'm going to click OK and save this guy. So this would be my little 3-man fire team. And I'm going to put these guys in a place where I know that I can easily find them, so that I can go to them occasionally and just copy and paste. And for that, I'm going to set them out here on this highway. Now here's another thing too. As you copy and paste guys and move guys around the map, there is going to be a height difference between where you had them before versus where you put them. Right now they're kind of elevated, so I'm going to drag them and drop them on the ground here. Kind of make sure that everybody's feet are above ground, nobody's stuck in the ground. You don't want your enemies to spawn and then immediately, you know, be dead on arrival. Which that will happen. If they spawn and their legs are in the ground, it will kill them instantly. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm looking here too at this giant group of guys, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but so I would come in here and I would do that to each one of these guys. I would change each one of their kits and make this big group of guys somebody that you could, you know, copy and paste, so you don't have to, hand build each one of these guys from scratch every time. So I'm going to click on this guy and look and see what he's loaded with as far as a script. Right now you have this team leader set on house patrol, which is great if you're wanting him to patrol, like say any of these houses down here. They will look within eyeshot. If they find buildings, they will execute that house patrol script, and they'll start house patrolling. But what you want to keep in mind is you don't want to have a unit up like this with house patrol on them and then put them up in the mountains where there's not any houses to patrol. If that happens, they'll look around, they won't see a house, and basically they'll just stand there not doing anything. They've got to have houses within eyeshot before they actually function like they're supposed to. Let's look at these guys over here and see what they're doing. Again, same kind of thing. I would come in here and I would re-kit these guys so that they're not all looking the same. I might even do that and then save this unit someplace where I can just copy and paste. Now I'm assuming that this is probably going to be a vehicle patrol, and so let's double click on the driver and maybe make sure that he is on his task patrol waypoint, which he is. This is good. Nice setup here. This guy should patrol like he's supposed to. And what will happen is the minute that script executes, all three of these chodes are going to jump in the back of this truck, and then they're going to start driving around. So this right here set up, this is fine. Let's see here. We've got a guy, and here's another sort of accidental thing that happens. You've got a sniper here that's elevated above the ground, probably because you maybe have dragged and copied and pasted him from somewhere else, and just didn't check his placement. So not a big deal. We're just gonna grab him. I am using Alt and my left mouse to sort of adjust his position. You've got a machine gun mucker here. That's a pretty good setup. He's watching this road corner, coming down this road. That's a pretty good setup. So that's good in my opinion. Well done. Let's go over here and look at these guys and see what they're supposed to be doing. Probably a house patrol setup if I was to guess. Yep, house patrol. So these guys set right here, perfect. What they're going to do is the script's going to fire, and they're going to start working this house, this house. They may even move across the street. You might find them in this barn later. So that setup is pretty cool. Probably also on this as well. Again, with the unit placement, you've got one guy over here that is actually inside a rock. So we're going to drag him out and get him. This guy, his feet are below the ground. A lot of times all it takes is for you to just click on the unit and just move them. And then if you've got your surface to map toggling selected, which is up here, toggle surface mapping, all you have to do is touch a unit and it will find where the ground level is and pull him up and set him on his feet. So that's not bad. He's probably on house patrol as well, I would bet. Yeah. Again, this is a good setup. Like I said, I would come in here and change these guys' uniforms up a little bit, give them a few different types of rifles, maybe make one guy a machine gunner, give them a medic maybe. This is the area that we test played the other day, which is cool. And this is what brought me to the question of exactly what's going on, because we've got Russians on the same map as pirates. Now, in the overall scope of your mission, if the Russians are working with pirates, that's awesome. Just let the team know in the briefing or explain in a debrief before the mission starts, hey, we've got some Russians, they're on this map, they're helping these pirates do bad things, yada yada yada. They have, a particular interest in being here, and so you're going to be fighting two different types of enemies. pirates and Russians at the same time. I can see that these guys are all on waypoints. That's good. They should follow those. This is an excellent checkpoint build. I love what you did right here. But again, anytime you put anything like this down, always come back and check object placement, because you got a bunch of stuff floating. I will always check my object placement when I put something like this down, just to make sure that everything is lined up the way it's supposed to be. You can see the way that you can quickly tell is that there's a yellow line going from the object, from the ground up to that object, and so you kind of know that it's elevated up off the ground a little bit. So just come in here and kind of reset everything, grab the stuff that's high, reposition it. You got this one sandbag that's right here. It's kind of I grabbed it and moved it. So again, it's just a lot of practice, working with the objects, getting them manipulated the way that you want. See how all of these road cones, if you're not really sure, get on ground level, like drop your camera down and you can kind of see that all of these objects are up off the ground. So just Alt, left click, and just drop them to ground level like they're supposed to be. And move them. All of these sandbags are like that. They're just elevated off the ground slightly. I would come in here and just kind of drop them down so you can see them, so that they're realistically on a surface. When you're building missions on a very large scope, you're working a lot of things at one time, it's going to be slow going. There's not going to be really any way that you can come through here and place down a whole lot of objects and get them all correct the first time. See, all these road cones are in the dirt. Actually, you can barely even see them. But like I said, all you got to do is click on them, and they will find the surface wherever the surface is, and they will snap to the surface of the ground. Camo net placement looks good. Thinking in terms militarily, wow, there's a big one. Look at that. That concrete barrier is way up floating in the sky. There's another road cone. There's another one right there too. Like I said, thinking in the terms militarily, you have a fully trained government-run military force, and then you have guerrillas, or which in this case is going to be your pirates. Both of these types of military units, they're going to be functioning and performing in two different ways. The professional military force, of course, they're going to know how to patrol. They're going to know how to use their vehicles. They're going to know how to fortify an area. That's where you're probably going to find your road checkpoints and that kind of thing, because it's just in the training, that's what they do. Pirates, on the other hand, they're not going to have access to, say, camo nets and concrete barriers and road checkpoint signs and that kind of thing. A roadblock for a pirate force is probably going to look something like this. If you come over here to objects and let's go to Zet compositions, go to roadblocks, and go to FIA, light CP FIA. No, let's do media. This. You see the difference? Your pirates are going to use destroyed vehicles and stuff that they have on hand in order to make that checkpoint work. Already you can see that the truck and stuff is like all out of whack. I'm leaving all of these highlighted so that I can manipulate them all at one time. Once I get the sandbags set, for example, I'll come back and I'll readjust. So you may not even want this vehicle here at all. Just take it out of the way. This right here, you take it and turn it. But your destroyed cars and all this kind of stuff, just mouse on them and click them. Probably not going to have it growing inside the rock, so you're going to have to shift it around a little bit. Ammo crate and stuff we can move. Destroyed car in a tree, probably not, but they might have it back here somewhere. Now, all of these other objects appeared on the other side of the road. You don't have to use them. Just highlight them, delete them. Sometimes too, I will look at photos online of war zones. One thing that's pretty common for especially enemy checkpoints and that kind of thing, they use barbed wire to cover the road. And so I will actually take barbed wire and use that as a roadblock. Especially if it's got wood on one end, they can take it. So there's the roadblock right there. And so the way they'll manipulate that is when they want a car to pass, is they'll just come over here and grab this last stick and they'll just pull it out of the way, let the car through, and then drag it back. So this would be a good pirate-ish kind of checkpoint. You can even take these sandbags and move them over here, maybe if you want to block the road. And then you could put, machine gunner. You could put a guy with an RPG here, maybe a couple of guys at a road checkpoint. Therein lies the other difference between pirates as a military force versus a governmental force like the Russian army. Russian army is going to have manpower. They're going to have the guys, the resources and the men to completely litter this checkpoint with maybe a dozen guys or so, because they have the manpower. Pirates probably not so much. Pirates run in small groups, and so they might only have one or two guys to guard this whole checkpoint. So just a few things for food for thought type stuff. I saw another something earlier that I was going to ask you about. Let's see if I can find it. It's way up here. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so trigger is set for blue 4 present. Condition this on activation, nothing. You have it set to this particular truck. Okay, this truck is probably set to task patrol. Let's look. Okay, task patrol. Okay, so the way this trigger is set up now, with this task patrol script in the init, they're not going to pay any attention to your trigger at all. As soon as the mission starts, they're going to start task patrolling, regardless of whether or not you've got this tied to this blue 4 trigger. Okay. The concept, you had about 60% correct. What you want to have happen, I'm sure, is that when blue 4 guys enter this area right here, should we ever even get that far, that's when you want this truck to start patrolling. Well, this is how you're going to have to set this up. So I'm going to remove this trigger for now. We're going to take this script out of the driver. I'm going to copy it first, and then I'm going to delete it. Okay. From the driver, you're going to want to put a waypoint and then a second waypoint. Now, in this second waypoint, that is where you're going to put in the init that you want to start him task patrolling. Okay. We're going to put your trigger back now. I'm sorry, I did not copy that trigger. I did not see how big it was. It wasn't 500. About 100. Looked a little bigger than that before. I'm going to put 125. You're going to do activation blue 4 present. Okay. And then you're going to right click on it, set waypoint activation. Okay. And you're going to put it on the lead trigger. So now this is set up so that if any blue 4 guys enter this area, When the mission very first starts, this truck is going to drive to this spot, okay? And he's going to wait. When Blue 4 enters this trigger, that's when he's going to drive to this waypoint, and that's when he will start his task patrol. Not before. That's when he's going to start it. Again, here's some more of your pirate guys, probably on task patrol as well. 185, that's good. Another way to test your patrol radius, we kind of use these numbers very randomly throughout our missions, but if you kind of want to see how far a guy or a unit is going to patrol, go ahead and make you a trigger. Set into that trigger the radius of his patrol, okay, and then place that trigger right on top of this guy and then zoom out. Okay, anything within that circle, that's going to be his patrol radius because you have him set at 185. If you want it bigger than that, change the number. If you want it smaller, change the number. That's just kind of a visual aid to kind of help you determine, okay, how far do I want these guys to patrol? Do I want them to go all the way up this trail here? Do I want them all the way out this far? There is a minimum for task patrol. It's exactly 85. Anything less than 85, they kind of just wander around for a few minutes and then they stop. But you can set that to freaking 5,500 meters if you want, and they'll start walking. They'll patrol the whole freaking island if you let them. But that's just kind of a visual aid that I use sometimes if I want to know kind of where they're going to be patrolling. Don't want to leave that trigger there. You just want to delete it when you get your kind of your visual aid and find out kind of how they're going to be patrolling. I was looking for your Dishka guy in the rocks that you said you had, but I have not found him yet. Oh, this was cool too. This was a good setup for the sniper in the tower. He's got a sniper right here in this tower. Stuff like this will mess them up though. See how you've got him placed and his rifle is halfway through the structure and halfway not? You want to check that placement and make sure that his rifle is not stuck in that, because more likely than not, when the mission starts, he's going to be stuck in this object and he's not going to be able to do what you want him to do. He is synced to this guy down here. This is just a, okay, guarded by Op 4 when Blue 4 is present. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change this a little bit, and I'm going to show you how I would set this up. I'm going to so he's a sniper too. I got you. You got two snipers in this area, and they're guarding this area here. So this is how I would sync this up. I'm going to go ahead and delete this guy. I'm going to copy this dude, and I'm going to put him back down here. I'm going to double click on him, see if I can get him standing. Okay. Now, if it was me, I might put him in this window right here, make him a little bit harder to spot, and have him in the room. I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of object manipulation here and show you kind of how I would set this up. See, he's kind of up off the floor. I'm going to come over here to assets, and I'm actually going to make him a sniper hide inside this room. I'm going to do a table. Let's do a regular wooden table, large. And I'm going to set it right here. You see this in Afghanistan and stuff a lot. American snipers do this where they'll get a line of sight It's a lot better to get a clean, nice shot from a prone position, you know this, than it is from a kneeling or even a resting position. So I'm going to put this dude on this table and have him laying inside this room right here so he can shoot out this window. He should be able to make way more accurate shots from here. So before you had these guys synced together, what you want to have them do is you want them grouped together. If you want them to be focused on the same waypoint or attached to the same waypoint. Keep in mind though, if one of these enemies is a higher rank than the other, they can give each other orders. So the guy that's say if this guy was the sergeant and this guy up here was a lower rank, which he is, he's just a private, the guy down in the building, unbeknownst to you, could give this guy in the lighthouse an order saying, hey, get down here in this house with me. And then you've lost your sniper in your tower. That would have been a cool little mission hang up for us to spot a sniper in a tower and take him out. So you have two options. You can leave them ungrouped, or you can group them together, but just make sure that your tower guy is a higher rank than your house guy. What I will normally do is I will leave them separate. I'm going to go ahead and sync him to your trigger over here, like so. And I'm going to do the same with the guy in the tower. Now they're both going to maintain their positions, and they're both synced to the tower, but they're not grouped or, neither one of them has to pay attention to either one of them's orders at this point. They're basically independent units from right here. I'm going to go ahead and remove my pirate checkpoint for you. I didn't want to come in here and completely alter your mission per se, but I just wanted to give you some heads up as to some stuff that I was seeing so far. Somewhere on here I saw there was a lot of vehicles. More pirates probably on task patrol. Okay, those are good. You've got a group of what looks like ISIS Humvees, pirate Humvees. Always remember that when you use that Biz Task Patrol script, that you put the script on the driver. Don't put it on the vehicle. It'll stay parked. It's got to be on the driver. So it seems like you've got that figured out. Now, these two vehicles are grouped to this vehicle, and you have the task patrol radius at 85. So that's fine if you want them to patrol 85 meters in this field right here. That's perfectly fine. But you want to see what 85 meters looks like. It's not a very big area at all to have them patrolling. That is 100 meters. So if we change this to 85, that's the area that those three vehicles are going to be patrolling in right there, which is great if you just want them to focus on this hilltop. But if you're wanting them to come down here on these roads and kind of patrol up and through this town and stuff, you might want to consider increasing that patrol radius on that task patrol. So those are just a few things that I saw so far. Mainly unit placement is good, but like I said, with a mission this big, you're almost going to have to. There's all those vehicles. I knew they were over there somewhere. Hold that thought. I'm going to come back to this in a minute. So you've got a it's a BTR 80 here, task patrol on this one. There was quite a few of them that didn't have task patrol. Maybe you just hadn't got around to it yet. Let me look. I might be mistaken. Let me look here and see. This is cool. I like the little camo net setup. I don't know if you did that, if it's a map object, but that's still pretty cool. Okay, all these guys have task patrol on them. Maybe it was these guys that didn't. No, maybe I was wrong. Looks like I was wrong. It looks like you did everything good. A lot of mission building is what I've heard called as mission balance. We're a three-man team. Having to deal with these vehicles are pretty stout. These BTR 80As, I mean, that's a friggin', 35 millimeter gun on there. Granted, it only has the driver and the gunner in it, but that's going to be even two of these vehicles against a team of three is a pretty good challenge. So if you leave these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 vehicles, that's gonna be a challenge, a really big challenge. Snipers up here, that's good. One thing you can do when you put snipers down, I'll go ahead and tell you about this. If you don't want to tie them to any kind of marker or anything, if you just want them out doing their deal, you can put them on a simple guard waypoint and just change that to guard, and they'll stay right up in there and they'll be eyes open all the time, looking for stuff to shoot at. They don't necessarily have to be on a trigger. The AI in the game works just like we do. They have to be able to see it with line of sight. Just because you have, say, a blue 4 trigger way out here that says, hey, we want these guys to start, looking for targets out here if blue 4 enters, they're still not going to be able to shoot us until they get line of sight on us. So a lot of times just a simple guard waypoint is really all you need to do. But like I was saying before, with mission scope, a mission this size, we're gonna have to scale it back and do this island in sections. A lot of times, the way that I will do that is that I will put, you're gonna do the mission in phases. Go ahead and have in mind, most of the time I will write my stuff down on a piece of paper. We are going to start on the island with Southern Cape that has the military base. Maybe 2 to 3 objectives. Secure Southern Cape would be one. Let's do the other one. I'm just using these for examples. Secure the southern military base, destroy helos parked there, and also maybe secure the main port, demo any ships that you might find. You've got your boats and stuff here, that's cool. A few guys here. The simplest way to do that, to break this down and do it into sections, is to use these markers. Come over here to markers. If you're aware of this, great. If not, I'm going to go ahead and show you. These are just your standard military markers, but you can mark an area with either circles or squares. I like to use the rectangles. You can use the rectangles. You place them down, they're going to look like this, but when you double click on them, it's going to give you a tray. You can color these. Right now, the default is black, but if you wanted to change this to say red transparent, then you can also come in here and do, you can pick a grid, for example, and then change the size of it. Let's do 600 by 250 to start, to see what it looks like. Okay. Then, like with any other object, you can take and you can hold down left shift and you can spin this thing like so. So 650 by 200, and you're going to put this over here on top of your island, but obviously it doesn't cover the whole thing, so we're going to need to resize it. Let's do 1200 by 400. Let's see what that does. Okay, almost big enough to cover the whole island, but let's just go ahead and do 1200 by 1200. Okay, so as a team, when we open up the mission, none of this other stuff is going to be here. We will save this for the next phase of the mission. If you like the way you've got these units now, you can copy and paste them, go ahead and start another map, and just remove this part, because we will have already completed this section. So for mission number 1, phase 1 of Operation Red Dog, for example, we could concentrate just on this area of the map, which I'm betting is probably what we're going to have to do. So we've got our marker down. Let's go ahead and put our first objective, which is under Systems. We're going to do Intel. First thing you want to do is create a task. So you're going to put a task here. Most likely, you've already got some objects and stuff down here. So you can put this down here on this. Double click on it. In order for us to see it, you have to do BLUFOR. Task, give it a name. Do, let's say, whiskey. Task ID, whiskey. Title, Assault and Secure Southern Cape Point. This information down here, module position. If you leave this activated, that marker is going to show up on the map when we start the game, so that we can highlight it as a objective. If you do disabled, we'll just have to use our maps and our common sense and say, okay, where's Southern Cape located on the map? Okay, this is our first objective area. You can change the way that marker looks, since this is a assault and secure kind of a mission objective. We can put attack. Okay. You can do always visible, which means even after this objective is completed, that particular marker will stay on the map. I like to have it where it's not always visible, so that once that's completed, we know that it's done. And I'm going to go ahead and leave that on module position and click OK. So when we go into the mission, we'll be able to choose this. Excuse me. We'll be able to choose this as an objective and assign it to the team, so that everybody knows where we're going. Now, in order for you to complete this objective, you're going to do set task state. Put that down on the map, doesn't matter where, double click it and do succeeded. Now, in order for this to fire, in order for this area to succeed, this particular objective to succeed, you're going to have a something there with a trigger that tells it, hey, you know, all the stuff in this area has been cleared. So we'll do, just for an example, all these units right here. You could put a gun battery here. You could put an artillery position. You could put some boats out here that were active, anything like that. And then what you do is you place a trigger down. Put a trigger. That's the size of your trigger there. Let's go ahead and increase the size of it. We'll do 200 by 200. Now, the way you're going to make the trigger fire is that you want the mission to succeed only after all of the OPFOR guys are dead. So you're going to do activation op4, activation type not present. In other words, when all the op4 guys inside this trigger are dead, the trigger is going to fire. This mission will say it's completed. The way you do that is you just right click, sync that to your task state, sync task state to the objective. And so now when we come over here, kill all the op4 guys, it's going to say objective completed, you know, assignment whiskey successfully, you know, done. Now you can move on to the next objective or whatever. So I'm going to leave that set up right there. I'm going to go into the camera and see what these guys look like. They're probably all over the place. Alright, so there's our two teams. There's our objective. You could put something down like a, you know, say if you wanted to do it this way. Let's do Islamic State armored. Let's put a ZSU 23 down. So let's say they have this vehicle and it's parked here, and you want this to be part of the mission objective for clearing this point. Obviously right now, because it's op4, it's included in this trigger because it's op4. But let's say all you want the objective to be is to just take out this gun right here, take out this vehicle. Right now this is loaded with ISIS guys, so we can take those guys out, and now it's an empty vehicle. But if we want it crewed by pirates, we could take these 3 pirates, put them into the vehicle, and now it's a pirate crewed vehicle. And you can give this vehicle a name. Double click on the vehicle, let it load up, and you could do ZSU1, okay, and simply change the trigger to activation type none, and you're going to put alive ZSU1. Okay, so now the objective for completing this mission is, in order for this to be a success, this vehicle has to be destroyed. The trigger knows this because exclamation point alive means that that ZSU has been destroyed. So the minute this truck is destroyed, that objective is going to say you secured the point, mission completed. If that's the way you want to set that up, that's a different option. But if we wanted to leave it like we had it before, activation opvor not present, you can take that out and just leave it as is. So to clarify, all of these units in here will have to be killed in order for that objective to be completed. And that's how you do that. And then you could move on up. You could put another objective here. There's a lot of stuff here. So let's do another objective. Create task. Do it for a blue 4. Let's name this one Vodka. Secure vehicle depot. Module position default. You can put it, let's make it a car. Set task state. Succeeded. Now obviously in order to secure it, there's probably going to be some enemies there. So let's find our pirates again. Do men. Let's do groups. Fire team. Infantry squad. let's do something different with these guys. I didn't see any of these on the map. Let's set these up for a task defend. The way you do that is you click on the lead guy, give him a waypoint, double click on it, go down to his init field. I'm going to go back out to my desktop here. I'm going to find my script for my task defend, which is right there. Copy it, go back to the mission, and on the activation just put that. Now what that's going to do is when the mission goes off, all of these guys, they're going to mill about. Some of them will get close to these they'll come to the waypoint. Some of them will sit down. Some of them will kind of, you know, meander about. They'll kind of walk around and guard the place, that kind of thing. If ever you do something in your mission and you want to see kind of what it's going to look like, you can always go to spectate in single player. This is a much easier way to do it rather than putting down a unit and making him playable and looking through his eyes so that you can actually see what's going on. I like to do it from a bird's eye view with the camera so I can get kind of an overall picture, kind of what's going on. So we'll look at these guys and see how they behave on their task defend. Taking it a second to load up all the nonsense here. Alright, and so here we are in the mission. So they already know that they're on task defend. See, the lead guy went to the waypoint here. A lot of them are just walking around. Some of them you'll see in a second will actually pop a squat. They'll actually find some place and sit down. See this guy right here, he's set down. Some of these other guys are laying prone. A lot of them are kind of moving around.
J'ai besoin de munitions. Faites le plein de munitions. J'ai besoin de munitions.
Now these guys will stay within the area of that waypoint that you put down.
Faites le plein de munitions. Je suis avec. 3.
So that works. And now you've got a group of guys that are guarding this area. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this so I don't have to listen to them speak French. There's lots of different options, ways that you can set this up. This looks like possibly you might have intended it for a NATO ammo cache, which is cool. If you set up NATO ammo caches, you can do a couple of different things. You might want to put a checkpoint here. It's not really that far. Well, it is if you use this checkpoint option that I just put. I mean, you got enemies that are right here close. Friendly NATO ammo caches, supply drops and stuff like that are usually going to be kind of secluded. So they're going to be where we can access them, but they're still going to be kind of out of the way, so to speak. To the best of my knowledge, you can set up as many virtual arsenal points tied to the same one that we have on our base as you want, and it does not affect the way that that script runs. So if you just wanted to put a camo net out here with a virtual arsenal under it, you could do that. Let's go to Zet Compositions and see what their military small cargo, sandbags, service station, cargo post woodland. That's pretty small. Set that down. I don't really like that. Let's delete that. Let's do we don't want an outpost. We need a cache. Bunker small. Fortified net. Light. Mortars. Post AAF. That's kind of what we're looking for. Alright, so we like everything here, except we don't want the machine gun bunker. Leave the pallets. But let's come over here to our island and grab our virtual arsenal that we've got over here and place it down on the map. Where was that at? I lost my place. Okay, here we go. Alright, so right down here, could do this, and you could set this virtual arsenal right on this stack of pallets. Just raise it up, set it on there like so. So at any point in the mission, we could have our virtual arsenal. Kind of unrealistic. I would rather see you do something like this. Let's get rid of the virtual arsenal. Go to objects, go to ammo, and we can come in here and go to, let's do basic weapons. Let's do for Armed Forces ammo crate. Just gonna put that down there. Let's do a ammunition crate like so. Let's raise this camo net up some. Alright, so at this little point right here, you've got a weapons crate and you've got ammo. I don't know if you can know this or not, but you can actually come into these crates and specify what weapons they have. You just double click on it. You come down here and do equipment storage, and it'll give you a list of everything in that crate. You can come on here and you can change the weapons. So right now, like, it's got Glock 17 highlighted. If you want there to only be 2 Glock pistols in there, you can set that to 2. If you want there to only be a dozen hand grenades, you come down here to, where's grenades? Let's do RGOs. RGOs. You can do 10 grenades. Go back to the rifles. ADR. So if you want there to be 0 HK416s, 5.56 rifles, you can just take that all the way down to 0. You want to have, you know, binocular batteries, you can do that. If you want to have a couple of scopes, you can do that. You can also make that crate its own virtual arsenal just by changing that to virtual. Then they have access to everything. Either way. So there's your idea for that. So this is kind of excluded. It's off to the side. It's kind of out in the sticks, out in the, you know, out in kind of the boonies. It is hidden by a camo net. It would make sense that the enemy kind of might not know it's there. But if you want it to make it known to your team, you can do something like this. From your email, you said hints. I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's do a 100 meter trigger. Let's go ahead and change that to 250. Make it a little bigger. Activation blue 4. Okay, and we're going to put that there. So zoom out to kind of let you know. Okay, so anywhere a blue 4 guy gets into this trigger, you want them to know that, hey, you're next to some ammo if you need it. This is pretty simple to set up. You just put the trigger down. Like I said, set that to activation blue 4 present. And on activation, you're going to put hint. Your team is near a friendly ammo cache. That is it. So if a blue 4 guy walks into this, we can test it right quick. I'll put a blue 4 guy down, have him walk into this road. Let's put a blue 4 guy. Let's do an auto rifleman. Go ahead and make him player right quick. Player, okay. And then I'm going to put an object here so that I will know that I'm inside the trigger. Let's do a flag, African civilians flag, and we're going to set this right here. So when I reach this flag, I'll know it's right at the edge of the trigger. This is just for testing purposes. As soon as I pass this flag, I should get this hint that says, hey, you're near a friendly ammo cache. So let's see if it works. I'm going to play in single player. Hopefully there's no enemies around that I did not see that's going to freaking snipe me from a tower someplace. Okay, so here's our blue 4 guy. You can already tell I've got a lot of lag. That is simply because there are a lot of units on this map that are moving. So I'm going to walk up here to this flag, and right over in the top right hand corner of my screen under my ammo count, I should see the hint pop up. So let's walk up here and see what it says. Bam. Your team is near a friendly ammo cache. It doesn't tell you where, you just know that you're close to one. Now what you could do is give a second hint, or even a third hint or a fourth hint, if you wanted to be. So right here the trigger fires, they're walking down this road, bam, we're near an ammo cache. And probably what they're thinking is, I bet it's in this building right here. So they go in here and they search this building. They don't find anything. They're like, all right, well, let's move further down the road. Set up another trigger. Put a trigger inside a trigger, 100 meters. You're going to do blue 4 present. You're going to give them another hint. Hint. Your team is getting closer to the ammo cache. Head northeast. Again, you don't have to sync this to anything. You don't have to, group it to anybody. As soon as blue 4 runs into that, it's gonna go off. I don't want to walk all that way, so I'm gonna give my guy an ATV so he can ride down there. Cars, quad bike, don't want a driver on that. What the hell is going on? There we go. And so we're going to go in and test it again. Play in single player. Again, I've got a pretty high-end PC, and it's just because these guys, there's so much movement on the map, there's so many vehicles. I think it would be best if we set this mission up in stages. It kind of helps because, number one, you don't feel like you're being rushed to do this, this mission all in one set. You can work on it in sections, and not feel so pressured to make this this huge mission and make everything work right. You can do it a little at a time. So I'm going to get on my ATV. Again, first trigger should still be the same. Pass the flagpole. There's my hint. Your team is near a friendly ammo cache. Continuing down this road. It's somewhere right up here. There's the second hint. Your team is getting closer to the ammo cache. Head northeast. Now what you could do as another option, keep your team from spending hours looking for an ammo cache. There's so many different things you can do, man. You already know this just from the little bit of mission building that you've done so far. On this second waypoint, we could actually add a marker giving the location of the cache. If you wanted to do that, you could do intel, set task destination, put a marker there, module position, show notification, and do that, and then you can sync that to this last trigger that you have. Bam. So that when they hit this trigger, it basically gives them the location of the ammo cache. This little marker will pop up. And it'll show them the exact location of the ammo cache. That way they're not wandering all over the hillside looking for ammo. Unless that is your intention. For them to do that. If you want your team to spend all that time looking for the ammo cache, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and leave this on here so you will know how to set up a hint. You can set up hints for anything using a trigger. You can put one on your mission area. The minute they land up in here and land on the Southern Cape, you could put a trigger down, that encompasses this entire area that says, you are now in enemy territory. Be on the lookout, look out for snipers, blah, blah, blah. Proceed to the objective. You can do that for anything. And it's just it's a very simple setup. So that just about covers a lot of the stuff that I've found so far. I like this idea over here of the fighting, but I might save that for stage 2, phase 2 of the mission, and just work this in sections. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think it would be more fun to work it in sections. It would give me something to look forward to. I know it would Morgan, to be able to know that we've eventually conquered this whole map and secured this whole island. I might even make the final objective being this secondary airstrip, put a big air base or something up here, and have us find a way to get from the island, whether we fly out there or boat out there, one of the two, and do that. So last but not least, I want us to look at this, the Nimitz that you put down. And again, just kind of bear with me. Don't think that I'm ragging on you. I'm here to help you out. I'm always here to help you out. Even if you don't think I'm playing Arma at the time, you just want to send me a quick text. I will always try to reply as quickly as I can, because I know that at this point you are as addicted to Arma as I was when I first started playing. So this is a good place for the Nimitz. It's far enough away. The helicopter transport, I like that it's centered right above the Nimitz. One thing I want you to pay attention to is this object placement. You may have done this at the last minute, I don't know, but if you notice, half the chopper submerged into the deck. If that thing spawns when the mission starts, these helicopters will all explode because they're basically a part of the object. So you want to make sure that all of these guys are at least above deck when they spawn. Like I said, I use a lot of actual research when I build. I like for everything to be as realistic as possible. This mod comes with a lot of additions that I don't know that you know are in there, and the ways that you can set this thing up. One of them, I would go ahead and put our close air support from this area if you want to, just to make it a little more real. There's two ways you can do that. You can use this virtual module, and it will automatically generate the planes, and they will go ahead and launch and come to us as we call them. The other way to do it is to actually use the non-virtual support, and that is right over here, cast bombing run. If you just put this down, you actually have to tie this to a helicopter, the same as with the helicopter transport virtual. If you want us to only have access to, let me back up. This virtual transport will send us helicopters as long as we call them. If it gets shot down, all we got to do is hit the thing and it will call another bird. If you want it a little more realistic, you can get rid of the virtual and put down an actual helicopter transport. Put that there. I would use Navy only. Since this is the Nimitz, I would use Navy only birds. Let's come down here to USMC and do woodland. Let's do helicopters. And let's do a CH-43, 53. Let's do an Echo and put him here. Again, check his placement, make sure his wheels are all above deck, this and that. You could also use a frigate Huey. You could put one of those over here too. In fact, let's take one of these gunships out and we'll put a Huey over here. So let's say these are our two transport helicopters that we're gonna, these are the only two we have access to. Tie both of these to the support module. Sync to, and make sure that this is synced to the support requester, which you have over here on our island. See where I can find it. Support requester. Bam. So These are the only 2 helicopters that will ever come if we ever need to be transported. Just these 2. If you use the virtual, we'll have helicopters all day long. Same thing for fighter support. If you want us to have access to only 3 planes, use the non-virtual module and sync this thing to 3 planes. F-15's cool and all, but not a carrier aircraft. I would hook this baby to where's it at? NATO planes. I would hook this thing to either F-18s, most likely F-18s. This one is the single-seater version. Let's go ahead and put another one down. The E is a single-seater. The F is a 2-seater that has a pilot and a radio weapons officer. And sync those 2 planes to your module, like so. So now we have access to 2 helicopter transports and 2 CAS bombing runs. If the enemy shoots those down, that's it, we're done. Now obviously this carrier, I think a strike wing on a carrier, I think there's like 60 something aircraft, maybe slightly under that. That doesn't include rotary aircraft. I think there's anywhere between 6 to 8 helos on a carrier at any given time. But I think between F-18s and A-6s and E-2C Hawkeyes, anything else that carrier's got, I think there's about 60 birds on an aircraft carrier that it'll hold. Obviously, you're not going to sit here and place 60 aircraft on this carrier for us to use. So if that's what your plan, just go ahead and use the virtual arsenal. And I'll go ahead and show you this too. The Nimitz has its own set of modules. You can place these anywhere around the Nimitz. One thing that you're going to have if you use this option for the aircraft is you're going to have the catapult. You're going to have the fuel. You're going to have the IFALs, which is when these planes take off and do their strikes, they're just not going to disappear like they do with a virtual. They're actually going to come back to this carrier and land, which would be kind of cool. You're going to want the carrier arresting system. You're probably going to want the Nimitz rescue team. You will probably want one of these Nimitz ambiances actually adds all of the aircraft and stuff to the deck, which is pretty freaking cool. I'm going to get rid of these and show you what that looks like, just for giggles. So we've got all of these. I can't remember if you've got to sync these to the Nimitz or not. I'm going to go ahead and do it just because. Now what the Nimitz ambiance does is it goes ahead and populates all of the deck. It gives you working deck crew members, all of that stuff. So let's go into spectate and see what it does. The camera should be centered right above the carrier. If it's not, we can zoom out there and see what's going on. I know it at least populates it with aircraft and stuff. Anyway, so this is Nimitz Ambiance number 1. You can see it went ahead and completely populated the deck with aircraft. It's got all the F-18s on deck with their wings folded. And it is really laggy right now. There's just so much going on. Anyway. Anyway, so any of these aircraft, you've got guys that are working the fuel depot. If we were actually flying missions from this, you pull up to this area in your airplane and these guys run out here with a hose and put gas in your plane for you. You've got deck crew members and stuff, which I didn't put down. I think there's actually another module where it'll add deck crew members. So these guys are over here just chilling. I think there's actually stuff below deck too. I can't be sure, but I think there's stuff, yeah. So there's planes below deck as well. All in all, it's pretty cool mod. Alright, so let's get out of this. So there's our 2 objectives that we added. I know this is a long video, man. I apologize, but I just wanted to get you some information since we don't have a chance to connect very often online. Let me see. Nimitz flight deck. That's it. So you put this one on there and sync it to the carrier. And then it gives you all the flight crew members. They're all dressed appropriately in the colored vests and helmets and everything. They direct the aircraft to the catapults. They work all the catapults. They do everything that you would see normally on an aircraft carrier. So there you go, man. That's what I would just some suggestions, some help. I'm gonna go ahead and leave all these things on the carrier so you don't have to remember what they are. The helicopter transport and stuff. Let me go ahead and set these up to where they're virtual in case you decide to change them. Helicopter attack virtual. CAS bombing run virtual. One more thing before I go. So you know that we've got a carrier out here operating in the Gulf in support of our mission on the island. And you know that there should be only carrier type aircraft operating from this. In other words, you don't want to call a CAS helicopter attack and have a AH-64 Apache Army helicopter show up. There is a way that you can configure these modules to only call specific types of units. To do that, let's do the jet one. And go in here. Okay, if you see down here where it says vehicle types, vehicle init, filter by side, and then cooldown, and it says system specific support provider CAS bombing run virtual. So let's say you only wanted this thing to call just F-18s and that's it, nothing else. You come in here to vehicle type, you hit double space and do quotes. I'm going to close this for now because I need the class name for the F-18. Another little editing trick, all the class names for all the objects in the game are listed on the bottom half of this black box, if you see over here on the right hand side of my screen. So if you wanted this thing just to call F-18E Super Hornets, the single seater Super Hornets, you would need the class name of JS_JC_F FA18E. So we're going to come back over here to this module, and we're going to put that in here within the quotes. So it was all caps JS S underscore JC underscore FA18E in quotes, and then an extra space, and then click OK. So now anytime we call a CAS mission from this option, the only thing that's going to show up is going to be, our only option to call is going to be an F18. And if you want to test to see how that works, let's just come out here to our guys. And let's test it right quick. Let me put me back as the player. I should be tied to the support requester. And I am, it looks like. So let's go into single player and test this out and see. Sometimes this can get kind of glitchy. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. It's really just a matter of trial and error. But I'm going to see if this thing is going to call just an F18. And you can do that with anything. You can do it with artillery. You can do it with supply drops. You can specify what type of aircraft come with a supply drop. If you want a C-130 to drop our gear, you can specify that you just want it to use C-130s. Something's blowing up over there. Let's come over here.
Be advised, support units are now on standby. Out.
So I want to bomb this tower right out here. This tower. So I'm going to hit 08 for supports. Oh, I didn't sync our... Dang it. I didn't sync our... Like I said, trial and error. I didn't sync our aerial support, our CAS support, to the support requester, so it's not giving me the option. Let's go to support requester. Where's it at? Support requester. Connect. Sync to. CAS bombing run. Okay, now it should work. That explosion off in the distance was probably a vehicle that was mispositioned. It was probably put on a rock or something like that. And like I said, if they spawn and they're half submerged, they will explode. So always check your object placement when you put something new down. Alright, so here we are again. I don't think this will be that laggy during gameplay. I think it's just because we're in 3D mode.
Be advised, support units are now on standby. Out.
So let's see, here we're in view of our lighthouse. Let's go to our map. We're going to mark this as our target and go to 08, bombing run. It's not giving us anything for some reason. Why is that? Alright, something's messed up. We either have a class name wrong, or I don't have the quotes set in the right place, or something. Let's look at it and see. Oh, because it's a virtual module. No, that is correct. It is supposed to be a virtual module. Those quotes are in the right place. Let's make sure that we've got the right class name. JS underscore JC underscore F18 FA18E. Yep, that's the right one. Let's try it again. I did add another space at the end of that bracket. Maybe that was what it was.
Be advised, support units are now on standby. Out.
08 cast bombing run. It's not giving us to us. Do we have a radio in our kit? We do have a radio. Let's try calling cast and see what that does. Helicopter. There it is. It just took it a minute to come up. So there's our Super Hornet. It's very laggy. I can hear that jet firing up. I wonder if it's... Anyway, that's the general idea. Makes me wonder if that thing is not trying to take off the carrier deck. It shouldn't though, with it just being... Anyway, if you want to add more than just one aircraft, just add a space and a comma, and then do another set of quotes, and you can add a add another aircraft, different type of class name, and you can do that for multiples. Just change the class name every time. And that way when the person calling supports pulls up the list, he'll have just these types of aircraft to choose from. So I will leave that in there should you choose to use that. And I'm like I said, I'm going to leave all of these modules on the Nimitz so you can get the Nimitz working like you want to. So last but not least, you said that you were having trouble determining a name for your mission. So I've got a special website I was going to show you that I use from time to time. This is, I have to find it right quick. Military mission name generator. This is basically kind of what guys use when they do you know, role-playing games and stuff like that. There's one in here though that actually chooses this is the one I like. Military operation name generator. Do start. Where's your war? Middle East, Africa, land war in Europe, Latin America covert action. Let's do Latin America covert action. Do you want total covert deniability? Let's do boots on the ground. Do you want to create shock and awe, fear and loathing? Let's do sheen of international cooperation. Are you going it alone? Working with an unwilling coalition? Total crusade? Working with a willing coalition? We're going to go it alone. And then, bam, you get your name. Operation Pork Chop. And then if you don't like it, you can redo it. These other ones will give you just, you know, a list of code names. And if you don't like any of these, you just say get operation names, and they'll change. You know, but this is where I get a lot of my code names for my operations. And the more you do it, you know, Operation Red Lion, that's a good one. Operation Flint, that's a pretty cool one. Operation Monsoon Rain, pretty cool. But anyway, fantasynamegenerators.com or this one, military operation name generator. It's www.smh.com. So anyway, that's that. Hope it was helpful. And anyway, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be more than happy to help you out.